The revolution will now be televised.
Sweet, I gotta eat. My hustle too cold, never gon' fall. Let it be known. Ain't nothing sweet about the heat. Let it be known when the doors low, then the guns blow. Ain't nothing sweet, I gotta eat. When my hustle too cold, never gon' fall. Let it be known.
I ain't spitting white lies, pumping niggas full of smoke. I'm on that block, I'm getting green, I'm pumping white bars of coke. Making broke niggas rich, teaching novice how to pitch. I made that switch, make yours. Matter of fact, fall back and forth. I grind with a cause, daddy, money's my motivation. I'm a rapper by choice, a hustler by occupation. And my street profession, niggas call me Connect. And hustlers worldwide, show that man respect. Hustlers worldwide, for that reason I collect. See, that feeling's mutual, I never deal with that usual suspect. A snitch nigga's always on deck to put your business on the fence, take cassette. Nevertheless, I put.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, the Delgados.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Delgados. I have a very important guest and somebody I want to introduce you to. My older brother, Jose Delgado. We don't do anything without each other. Even if me and my brother David do something, me and my brother Jose, or those two do something, we always do it together no matter what.
Listen, my older brother, where to start? Legendary. I mean, if you know, you know. Jose has been a figure in New York City since he was a teenager. You know what I'm saying? He was born in Harlem. We moved to Brooklyn, but he actually went to high school in Harlem. He went to King. And, he went to school with Dougie Fresh. I don't got to tell you, Tito from the Fearless Four. I mean, Jose's well known. And aside from that, my brother Jose is a street legend.
Facts.
There's no doubt about it. There's no doubt about it. Nightclub owner. I mean, there's not too many other people in the city that I know that have lived the life that your brother Jose's lived. He's lived a hell of a life.
Yeah, he owned the chicken farm at one time as well.
Oh, come on, a big one.
The big crazy.
Yeah, bigger than KFC. You know what I'm saying? So, like I said, if you know, you know.
If you don't know, you are square.
Super rectangle. So without further ado, man, I'll let you meet my eldest brother, Jose, and he'll tell you a little bit about himself.
Yes.
Welcome, Jose, to the show. What's up, Ho?
Hey, what's up, my brothers? Congratulations on your new podcast.
Oh, we appreciate it, man.
I like it. I like the vibe.
Thank you, bro.
Thank you,
bro. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Jose.
I grew up in New York, from Harlem, raised in Brooklyn, and just grew up like a regular childhood. I tried my best to be regular. You already know how that turned out.
Right.
We don't even have to get into it.
I actually want to get into a little because it's strange. It's like it's interesting what you said because it's like how do you start off regular and then you get to become you? The great Jose Tarantino, and that's
the time out. Who named him Tarantino? Who came up with that?
Jose
said you came up with that.
I did come
You
up
called
with
him
that.
Tarantino the visualizer?
Correct.
Where that came from?
So at the time, Pulp Fiction was a big movie. His business was growing. And I had really liked the way that film was directed, the plot twist, and just the way he ran his business was different. He's a different kind of hustler. He's always been that way, where he's weird. He has his own quirky way of doing things. And I felt that way about Tarantino, the director, in terms of that film. I'd never seen a film shot in that style.
Right.
And I'd never seen a nigga hustle the way this nigga husle.
That makes sense.
And that's how I came up with that.
I always wanted to ask you that.
That's how I came up with that.
Right.
Yeah.
So how you came up with my nickname?
I always thought you was a fly nigga, and at one time you had the ponytail like Giancarlo Esposito. Remember you had that?
Chill.
Yo, you had the ponytail like Giancarlo Esposito. So I came up with Giancarlo the Great. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Because you always had good hands. You were always able to touch greatness. I always felt like.
I thank you. Appreciate that.
That's how I came up with that. Yeah.
All right.
I gave Eddie Scorsese his name too.
Oh, he knows that.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was Scorsese before this guy was Dave Dash was calling himself Scorsese.
100%. There's no doubt about it.
It's not even close.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Tino. So what was you saying?
Well, just growing up in New York City and trying to navigate what I'm gonna do with my life. I didn't really know nothing about the streets when I first started. Actually, I don't know if Castro remembers the first time I called him and I asked him what is 125th Street, and
it was crazy. So what people don't know about the three of us is I actually introduced my brothers to the game. It wasn't the other way around. I'm the youngest, but I was on the street first. I probably was on the street, and this is the truth. I started out selling fireworks on Canal Street.
I remember that.
I'm gonna tell you the truth. I'm gonna tell you how I got started hustling. I started selling fireworks on Canal Street. I met a Chinese gang member, and he was like, "Yo, you're really good at this." I don't know if you remember that summer. I made like 5 G's selling
I
fireworks.
remember he came home with a big stack.
Made like $5,000 cash.
He gave me like $300-400.
He lived around the block from where we lived. He lived on Avenue H.
Chino?
No, not Chino. Diesel. He was a Chinese breakdancer. He was active in every field.
Right.
His family was active.
Okay.
So they owned the Chinese restaurant. And he was like, "Yo, meet me at the Chinese restaurant, whatever. Met him at the restaurant. And in the back of the restaurant, he had Coke.
Okay.
And he was like, "We're not selling fireworks no more. 4th of July is over. You want to fuck with this? You want to learn about this?"
I didn't know that. You never told me this story.
That's how I got started.
So it was the Chinese dude put you onto that?
The Chinese dude put me on the white.
From Avenue J?
From Avenue H.
Avenue H, okay.
Avenue H. That's a lie. He lived between J and I, right in the middle of the block.
Okay.
Yep.
That's crazy.
Crazy.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to make more money. I didn't really think about the product that I was selling. I didn't give it any thought at that time. But from that day forward, the three of our lives would be different forever.
Yeah, you introduced us to that. And I don't know if Jose remembers this, but one day me and Jose was standing in front of the building with our friends, and this white boy came up to us and says, "Listen, I got weed. You want weed?" Remember that?
I remember that. Droopy's homeboy.
And he was like a rock and roller,
Hmm?
long hair. And he came back and he had a big garbage bag. He gave us probably 5 or 6 pounds in that motherfucker. He said, "Give me $500 or something like that." We pieced up the money, we gave it to him. And shit, that's how we started selling anything. We didn't know what the hell we were doing. We asked you for baggies.
So what's crazy is around where we lived on Avenue J, a lot of the people who owned businesses sniffed coke.
Okay.
And I kind of stumbled upon that by mistake. My whole trip into hustling everything was a mistake. Nothing was planned. I knew nothing about it. We were church kids. For those of you that don't know us, we grew up in church. My mother was very religious, Pentecostal. We basically grew up in church.
Our uncle was the pastor.
Yeah. And our uncle was the pastor. And when I say grew up in church, like literally back then, if you were Pentecostal.
Born into it.
Yep. And you went to church like 2 or 3 times a week. You went to like prayer on Monday and church on Sunday, all that type of thing. So the way I found out that these business owners on Avenue J were sniffing coke was from one of the managers in Key Food.
Where I worked?
Where you worked. One of the managers in Key Food. We were riding our skateboards. I was still young enough to ride a skateboard. Like I was a kid selling coke. Like literally I was 13, 14. And he came out and I saw him buy some coke from someone that was a friend of ours.
That's the guy we played basketball against. He was a coke sniffer. I know exactly who you're talking about.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
And I was like, oh shit, I could probably sell some of this.
I think
right. So I could probably sell some of this to them. And that's how I introduced myself to him. And I was like, well, I got coke too. And then he introduced me to the people from the bagel shop. He introduced me to the people from the meat market. He introduced me to the people from the shoe stand. He introduced me to the people from the clothing store across the street.
Wow.
That's how I got all those customers, was from him saying, you know, this kid right here's got
the good shit.
He's got Blanco.
Right.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So Jose, it's interesting because you had said that you had to call me to find out what a 125th was. So after you asked that question, what had happened?
I mean, it's we're gonna get into it one day, real long, the whole story. But I'm gonna abbreviate it right now. I got into it, got rich, came home.
You gave the super fast version.
The super abbreviated version.
Well, I mean, listen, we all got rich.
We will definitely take a whole episode and we'll talk about that.
Facts.
Yeah, and we'll break it down.
We all got rich.
We'll break it down.
Yeah. But I just want to say that in between that time, right, before Jose got popping and you really took music seriously and kind of wanted to step away from that to do your career, right? There was like a period where it was like Jose had the store uptown. He wasn't popping. He was still macking hoes, and that's what he was doing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I was in Baltimore hustling. Right. And when I came back and we started, that's when shit really, really popped off. What year was that when you had the store, Jose?
I started that store in 1996.
So in 1997, I would say was when really we took shit seriously. Nah, that was before 96, bro. Because in 1997, me and David went to LA for the music convention. And that's when I moved to LA.
Well, yeah, you're right.
So that was 94, 93.
Jose, we had the store in 94.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Early.
Yeah. That's 93, 94 for sure.
That was Miguel was alive.
Miguel was still alive.
Because
mind you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Mind you, before Miguel was assassinated, what's interesting is Jose's store was the first of its kind. The first of its kind. He customized his store. He customized his store in such a way where he had murals painted on the wall by professional artists. He brought in clothing lines that he himself handpicked. He would sell silk shirts, dress shoes. Dantan Cooper, one of his first places where he sold some of his clothes was our store. We used to sell cream the silks. Jose had a very interesting, peculiar style about picking brands and putting them in the store. We were one of the first stores to carry Dada. Am I lying?
I don't want to. I don't want to rewrite history, and I don't want to hate on people because I'm not a hater. Jose was one of the first, but he wasn't the first. He has a good friend named Keith, and Keith had a store.
Yeah.
Keith was doing the same thing, but Jose's swag was different. So Jose swagged his store differently, but Keith had his store too.
Keith had a store too.
Absolutely.
Our store was a little bit different though. Both stores looked different. They had their own energy.
Store's a store.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
So moving forward, Jose, finish talking what you were saying.
I mean, give me a specific and I'll explain whatever you want to know.
So I want to ask you this, right? You being around from the inception of hip hop, you're a little bit older than me. So you have a lot more knowledge in terms of what took place from when hip hop first got started, going all the way to where we are now. I want to transition into this 50-year hip hop celebration that we had about 18 to 24 months ago. What was your take on that 50-year hip hop celebration? Do you feel like we did hip hop right with the way that we celebrated it?
Well, you got to remember, right? Hip hop started from nothing, right? So let's talk about the 50th celebration. We should be thankful that there was a 50th celebration because someone came up with the idea. Now, of course, there's going to be some people who liked it and some people who don't, but at least they did something. So you have to appreciate that because if they didn't do nothing, we wouldn't even be talking about it. So I appreciate that at least they tried, and it's hard to say how you celebrate hip hop because it changes every year. Hip hop it changes every minute, every day. When what we like, right? What we like, a lot of kids don't even know about it. They don't even listen to it. So we come from the beginning, and as far as the beginning, we could have done better to recognize the people who started hip hop, the Cold Crush Brothers, the Funky 4+1, Melly Mel, Grandmaster Flash, Sugar Hill Gang, all those groups, and then after that era came the LL Cool J's, the Big Daddy Kanes, the Rakims, and then after that era became the Wu-Tang Clans, the Tribe Called,
Jay-Z's.
right? So it's revolving, but I'm satisfied with what they did for the 50th of hip hop. They tried, they tried. So if I feel that if someone criticizes something, they should come up with something,
With something better.
with something better. So if you're gonna, people who criticize, you didn't do nothing. So whoever did come up with the idea, I felt they did a good job.
What's your take on it, Cass?
I want to hear yours first.
I don't have a take. I don't even listen to hip hop. To be honest with you, I gave up on hip hop after what era? I would say that Jay-Z, Nas, and Biggie are really the last when I stopped paying attention to it.
Okay.
To be honest with you, I don't listen to really hip hop that much. I'm more of an old classic R&B. I like a lot of old white rock bands. That's the kind of shit I listen to every day.
Right. So, in terms of this topic, my issue with the 50 years of hip hop, it was a celebration of New York hip hop. It was just New York. All we did was suck each other off. All artists from New York. Oh, the Bronx, Brooklyn, from Staten Island, Queens. Yeah, it was a 5-borough thing. It wasn't a celebration of hip hop. It was a celebration of niggas who rap from New York. And if you want to be like, oh, well, New York niggas started it, and that's why we only celebrated us. Bro, I'm going to be honest with you. Without the contribution of people on the West Coast, hip-hop would not be what it is. They brought that gangster element to this, which still exists in this today. And I'm from New York, and you know I love New York hip-hop. You know how I rep New York. I give it up for New York. We from here. But we didn't do right by other people. We didn't do right by other states, by other people who made major contributions.
Outkast and all them too.
It was whack. Yeah, we didn't represent nobody from Atlanta. We didn't bring nobody else in on this. It was a party for the 5 boroughs. That's what it was. Even that concert at Yankee Stadium and the one LL Cool J had in Queens. Those were celebrations of New York style rap. That's all that was. And you can't celebrate 50 years just celebrating what we did here. And that's why I thought it was, that's why I thought it fell short.
It was iffy.
To me, it fell short.
Okay.
It fell short.
I didn't even pay attention to it. I didn't watch none of the shows. I didn't care what was going on. I just didn't care.
Well, I have an opinion on that. It started in New York, so New York is the one who came up with the 50th celebration, so they're celebrating their own. Yeah, I understand what you're saying about, West Coast hip hop, and they did bring a lot to the table. All around the world bring a lot to the table, but let's keep it honest, all right? New York is where it started, and we taught everybody. It doesn't matter what they did, and they did it great. They're still eating off of what we gave them. So that's why if we're going to celebrate it here and all we did was celebrate New York artists, then fine, because we're the ones who created it. So we're celebrating us,
That's exactly what I said.
I don't care how good. I don't care how good Snoop Dogg is. He copied Rakim. He copied someone that was here. KRS-One. So if they're copying, good. You guys are good at doing it, but you already know we are the originators. So don't front, no matter how good you are.
Spoken like a true old head. Right? Spoken.
Yeah.
This is why I wanted to bring him in to ask an expert. Spoken like a nigga from that era. I can see you not changing your stance.
But your perspective was respectable.
Yeah, listen, I'm a little younger than both of you guys, so I understand that the way rap morphed, it turned into something else, greater than what New York could have done on its own. Like where we are now in terms of the culture, New York couldn't have done this on its own. And we haven't done it on our own. It's cool. I'm from New York. I love New York. Trust me, I'm New York first. But I just know that we left a lot of ingredients out of the pudding. We didn't put the ingredients in the soup that should have been in that 50 years.
NWA had a big impact in my life.
Come
when they
on,
came
bro.
out.
That's what I'm saying, bro.
Yeah, they did.
Come on. You crazy?
They did.
Come on, man. And that's cool because I like the way he explained it. It started here. We made it up. We celebrated us. That's what this 50-year shit was. It was about throwing a party for ourselves. He explained it the best way I've ever heard it explained.
Okay, gotcha.
That shit made perfect sense. That shit was a party for us. No
Right.
problem. We celebrated.
Facts. All they can do is either be happy with it or make their own parties.
Correct.
Facts.
I mean, we all know how good they are. You can't take nothing away from Ice Cube, Easy E, Ice-T, all those guys, all around the world. We know they were good, and we know they're probably better than a lot of rappers in New York. But, like we are the inception, no matter what it is,
Well, I feel we have a first-hand perspective on what's going on in Los Angeles, per se, West Coast, because I moved out there at the end of 1997, right?
You moved to LA?
David came a month, 2 months later, and you came a year later, Jose, right? And we met a lot of West Coast influences, whether that be rappers or air personalities, and
the West Coast is nice. I love it. Yeah.
That's where we got rich. I mean, at the end of the day, if I didn't move to the West Coast, this wouldn't have happened. The Connects were in the West Coast. That's real talk.
The plugs.
The plugs. You feel what I'm saying? We met the plugs. Like, so through our lifetime, if you're lucky, if you meet one, we probably met 4 big timers. At least.
Huge.
Huh?
Huge.
Like, changed our lives forever.
For better or worse. Right? For better or
Nah,
worse.
I don't change nothing, man. Like, a lot of fucked up shit happened to us, but I wouldn't change it, to be honest. I mean, the only thing I would change is probably stay in school, educate myself, and become a dentist the way mom wanted me to. But other than that, I wouldn't change nothing.
I wouldn't say I would change anything. I mean, I'm past the 50 mark now. Right? So 50 years in to be like, oh, I wish I could have went back and changed this. I don't feel that way. I just feel like when you transition down the road that we went down, that shit does something to you. It changes you. We different niggas. We're not the same niggas we was when we grew up. It changes everything about you. Your whole world is different. That nigga Ho will never be the same. You'll never be the same. I'll never be the same. Some of the shit that I got in me now, some of the darkness, some of the poison, I could do without some of that shit. I got some toxic shit in me. It came from hustling. So when I be like, do I regret it? No, I don't regret it. But do I have some dark, toxic shit in me? Yeah. That shit came from hustling. Gave my eye to the game. I say that shit, right? You know what I'm saying? Sold my soul to the devil for a gold rope chain. Everything I say in that song is truth. What I say about you guys and me. Right. No bullshit in that, right? A lot of that shit is dark, nigga. It's not nothing to be celebrated. I wish I could have done without some of the dark shit.
Right.
To be honest.
I have a very different perspective in life. I don't really, even though, like, even in my worst times, my deepest, like, depressions, I feel like I'm happy. Even when I'm not doing well financially or shit ain't going good for me, I don't really get that down. So, what I mean by that is that a lot of stuff that you say as far as in, like, the dark things in that world, right? I don't think about it in those terms because I feel like that was a part of my life that made me what I'm doing now. And I appreciate it, actually. You know what I'm saying, Jose? How you feel about it?
You can't have no regrets because at the time, you got to remember, at the time you're starting in the streets, you really don't care about your life. So I had no fears. I didn't care if I get locked up or I just wanted to make I just wanted to get money.
Right.
Feel me? So it's different now, right? You're older, you have a family,
Concerns.
you have an appreciation of life. But when we were actually doing it in the grind, you didn't have those concerns. It was about getting money and whatever happens, happens. And that's what it is.
Going with the flow.
Going with the flow.
Well, he had said one thing. Eric had said one thing. He said, would I change it? He said he wouldn't change anything. And I could do without going to prison. I could do without that. I did enjoy that. I'd like to take that shit off my resume. Give me those days back. You know what I'm saying? I'd like to give that shit back if I could. You know what I mean? You don't want to give them years back? I'd like to give them fucking years back.
It's a package. You got to take. You got to take the good with the bad.
Facts.
It's a package deal. You can't have the glamour and then when everything, when the boys come and get you, they're gonna come get you. You gotta do your time. You gotta do your time. That's what it is.
What's that rhyme you said? After the glitz and the glamour, I don't want to be Hammer.
Yeah, after the glitz and the glamour, nigga, I don't want to be Hammer. But in retrospect, right, Hammer's place in history is interesting. You said that because Hammer's place in history to me is cemented. I feel like MC Hammer, and whether he has the money that he burned now or not, he's an important figure in rap music too. Hammer's almost like a one-of-a-kind dude. There hasn't been
when
anything.
Hammer came out, we always said we liked Hammer.
Yeah.
Even when Run DMC was shitting on Hammer, I never shitted on Hammer. I always thought Hammer brought something to the table.
Me too.
That was needed.
And not because of the way he rapped. I never liked him lyrically.
And never that Teddy Riley shit.
Yeah.
I'm talking about way before Teddy Riley.
Yeah. And not that I appreciated the way he rapped. I just appreciated him as an entertainer. He was like a James Brown of rap. Nigga could dance. He had a bunch of people on stage. They was doing a
Hammer.
bunch of
Yeah, the club. Yeah,
he had
that shit
his
was
own
crazy.
thing. He had his own thing, man. Well, how do you feel about Hammer? Because people want to erase his whole legacy.
You can't Hammer. See, let me tell you something, right? A lot of people, even me, they liked Hammer. They just didn't say it. They couldn't admit it. But when his videos came on, you watched from the beginning to the end, and you was like, in your mind, you're like, yo, he's kind of dope. But if your
Right.
friend, if you in the car and your friend asked you, do you listen to MC Hammer? You're gonna be like, I don't listen to that bullshit. You know what I'm saying? That's what you're gonna say. But when your friend gets out the car, you popping that tape in and you're like, Hammer was dope. And right,
That was all right, man.
At this age, you're gonna appreciate Hammer more, you know.
I do.
Fun fact, you guys know or don't know. I went to a club. I forgot who I was hanging out with. I think I was with Darren Ebron. And
Scola.
We'll talk about him another day.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we were at a
Forget
club.
talking about him. How about if I bring him on the show?
Okay,
good.
Let me wear my bulletproof vest. They might shoot the nigga.
Right.
Anyway, right? So we were at a party, and one of Hammer's famous dances, one of the original dances, I got her number, and I wound up smashing.
Yeah?
Yeah,
That is a fun fact.
that's a fun fact.
Was she like, 3, 5, 7? When he's breaking
She was
down.
good. She was actually good looking. She was
Was
good
she?
looking. Older chick, good looking. Yeah.
Yeah. I believe it, man. I believe it. Here's an interesting thing that I want to ask you guys, right? Because we're talking about the West Coast and we're talking about New York a little bit. Where do you feel, right? Or what coast do you feel has made a bigger contribution to car culture? Because now you got all these VVS boys and Harlem
Fuck,
Machines.
that's a hard question.
And all these clubs. And I have a take on this, but I want to hear you guys' take first. Who do you think has had a bigger influence on car culture? Would you say the West Coast or would you say New York? East Coast.
Car culture is every state. You got Florida with the bouncers and the big wheels. You have Atlanta. You have Los Angeles with the low riders and also with the luxury cars. And you got specifically New York City with luxury cars, and Chicago and Detroit. Because you remember, there's a lot of people don't know. You know how much money was in Detroit. You know how much money was in Chicago. They had the Cadillacs. They had the Mercedes Benzes. You know, just like us. So car culture is everywhere. You know, in different states, it was different things, you know. But in LA, we know it was something different because of the low riders and the Latin influence. And then in New York City, we know there was something different.
I'm going to pinpoint my opinion to the two states that I frequented. And that's New York and LA.
Right.
I can't speak about Florida or Atlanta, even though I know there's a lot of ballers everywhere and everybody had cars, right? But between New York and LA, see, I didn't move to LA till 97. So, you know, I don't know what was going on before that, but I can tell you this. that LA is New York can't come close to what LA is doing with their cars. As far as in restoring old cars, having new cars, like when I moved to LA, women had Mercedes Benzes and BMWs like they were Honda Accords.
Kitted out too.
Right? They're
Rimmed
not
out.
doing that shit in New York at that time like that.
No.
Am I lying, Jose?
No, you're not lying.
No,
But
I'm dead ass serious.
but
No,
this-
let me finish.
See, that's what I want.
I'm dead ass serious, bro. Look, when we went valet parking at the Century
Century
Club,
Club.
you gonna tell me you see more Benzes and Ferrari, not regular cars. Niggas in New York ain't have Ferraris and Lamborghinis. They was doing that shit in LA.
Right.
Am I lying?
No, you're not. Let me tell you something. So it's interesting you said the valet at Century Club. That was a big part of the night, was giving your ticket and seeing what the fuck you pulled up in.
Big part of the night.
A huge
I
part of the
barely
night.
made it through with my little Lexus.
Trying to tell you.
Like,
And
barely.
trying to tell you. And I feel
See-
like New York, right? So, and I'm gonna go back a little bit. If you think about what the Jamaicans were doing with the BMWs in the late 80s, right? If you think about what they was doing with the Maximas, you think about what
That's what I'm
listen,
saying.
if you think about what
That's
we
what I'm
did
saying.
here, we did it big here, but kind of
Super
with
big.
with cheaper cars, with a cheaper brand of car.
Facts.
You feel me? We
And I'm
did it
talking
big
about
here.
balling.
Right. We would take a Maxima and skirt it out, and it's looking fucking crazy. Right. And Puerto Ricans was doing it, Jamaicans was doing it. You know, all different ethnicities had their own drip in terms of hooking up cars. So New York has its energy.
That's what I'm saying. Listen, LA is a richer energy, richer cars, Ferraris, Benzes, convertibles. But if it's going to come down to regular hood culture, where the cars came from, New York is way ahead. Just like Castro said. We took cheap cars and we made
We turned them into something crazy.
whatever, you know.
They were
you-
works of art. When
Right.
you see a Jamaican
we had the
dude,
Suzuki. Let me tell you something.
the sidekicks.
Remember when the sidekicks came out? The Wranglers, the Jeep Wranglers, the Maximas,
rodeos, the
the
Isuzu
rodeos.
rodeo.
We
Yeah.
made the Toyota Land Cruiser a fancy car. The Toyota Land
The
Cruiser.
Cherokee.
See, what you guys are talking about, right?
You said
See,
car culture.
Let me correct you. What you guys are talking about is swag, right? You're talking about swag, how we swagged cars. And that's not what I'm talking about, right? What I'm talking about is what the fuck could you afford to drive,
Well, that's true.
right? That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about dough. So now, we grew up knowing some drug dealers, not before we was doing it, right? I ain't talking about Nicky Bonds and them. That's before our era. I'm talking about guys that we grew up with.
Hmm.
These guys were 100,000aires.
Right.
They was not millionaires. They
That's
were
a big
100,000aires. They had Benzes. They had fly shit,
That makes a big difference.
right?
Yeah.
When I moved to LA, I met niggas who actually had some motherfucking millions, right?
It was different.
Driving big cars, Ferraris, Lamborghinis.
Real shit.
I mean, listen, I'm talking money, bro. I'm not talking nothing swag. I'm talking money. Okay? I'm talking cats who really had paper. The guys who was dealing with the connects. New York niggas didn't know what connects were. They were messing with middlemen. These guys' money was different. So when it comes to cars, LA was killing niggas. Because I saw it with my own eyes. That's why I'm telling you that.
No, listen to me. I agree with you, but we're not talking. See, Castro said car culture.
Car culture. right.
Culture. Okay? So when it comes to car culture, we invented that, man. It just is what it is, man. Dapper Dan, we invented that. We invented putting Louis Vuitton in the seats and the Gucci in the seats. And that's if they did it, good. But we invented.
Nah, they didn't do
so,
that.
All right, then. So what I'm so
They did it after we did.
Nah.
They was watching music videos and like, oh, these niggas got
That
Gucci
was Carl
seats.
Canal that was doing that.
Yeah.
That's a New York guy.
Well,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, I don't know who invented the sound systems, but all I know, when I was growing up, there were sound systems in the car, booming systems. Car ride by with the booming system, LL Cool J. So that's car culture. We got that. LA, they got the more money, but we had the car culture. You cannot debate that.
That makes sense. So we'll just say that the more expensive vehicles were on the West Coast, but we invented bringing a lot of the aesthetic to the car culture.
Swag. You're right. I mean, Nobody in no state could say that they were wearing NCM, Gucci, and Louis in their cars. Nobody was doing that. That came out of Harlem. Brooklyn got it second. They came out of Harlem because that was Dapper Dan.
Can I tell you a funny story? I remember I was driving with Tito from the Fearless Four, the rap group, the Fearless Four, who had that song "Rockin' It." Okay, I was Tito had TVs in his headrest, right? In 4 headrests.
The white Benz?
Yeah, the white Benz. He
Okay.
had 4 TVs in the headrest. So I asked him, who are the TVs in the back for? He was like, I don't put nobody in my backseat. That's just for the less unfortunate so they could watch TV. In the back, the other cars. He said if the other cars don't have TVs, they could watch
mine.
TVs.
Tito was ahead of his time. We're gonna talk about him. Maybe if I don't know if you still talk to Tito, but if you could bring him on the show, I would love to have him on here and talk to that guy. He's legendary to me.
Absolutely. Yeah, I would love to get his ideas on different things.
That guy was not just as an MC, man, but just as him being Puerto Rican and him coming out in the 80, 81 around that era and like early before hip hop was popping. He was like a sex symbol. He was lyrical. He used to dress his ass off. He had bread. Like, I just want to talk about his whole lifestyle.
I'd like to kind of ask him the question that I just asked you guys about the 50th year celebration, because he didn't get mentioned. When they ran down top MCs, Fearless 4 didn't even get an honorable mention. And Fearless 4 was nice.
They had hit records.
Not only they had hit records, it was something about, when you talk about, who started hip hop, are you Puerto Rican, are you black, is it a black thing, is it a Hispanic thing? The Fearless 4 is a good example because it was 2 black dudes and two Spanish dudes. And it was interesting how that dynamic worked together, right? They could have easily been 2 separate groups, but for some reason they was all together. And that was Drip. That group was fire.
That group was crazy.
This is why, I don't know how they got left out of the conversation. It's just crazy.
I mean, there's so many groups that made an impact. I guess, when you're early on, you're going to take an L when mentioning people. Just like the Fat Boys to me was like an amazing group. And Prince Marky D was a Puerto Rican MC. And he was, in my opinion, not because he's Puerto Rican, but he was the nicest MC in the crew.
Yeah, I knew Prince Marky D.
We hung out with him in Florida when me and you was in Miami. When
you know what I mean? And he was an amazing producer, music-wise. And his solo album was bananas. I don't know if you ever heard his solo album.
100%.
His solo album was
crazy. To swing my way.
Yeah.
That was
100%. He was way before his time.
That was a hip-hop R&B album. It's a classic album. I still play that album.
Don't forget this either. They did a movie. Not the Crush thing.
You talking about Disorderlies?
Disorderlies. Now, he was the main lead. He had the love interest.
I'm going to give you a better story about them, and this is a true story. When we had got signed to Warner Brothers, our attorney, Joseph Serling, I don't know if you remember the story you told us, he also represented the Fat Boys.
I didn't know that.
Right? He also represented the Fat Boys. And he said he personally saw the 3 of them run through over $1 million a piece. They had come to his office to pick up like $1 million check each, which were like monies that they were owed from royalties and from the film that they had done. And he said they ran through it like a hot knife through butter.
They made some money in that day.
They made some millions. Yeah.
Well, that's good to hear.
Fat Boy's a big deal.
If they made it, and if they blew it, you blew it. If you made it, I'm happy you made it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Kool Rock Ski's still alive.
I'm no different. I blew through mad bread.
Same here.
It's all good. You know what it is. And I don't hate to get technical and whatever, but we grew up in an era where our parents didn't teach us about financial literacy. So because if like the money I ran through, if I knew what to do with it when I had it, I would be a multi-millionaire right now. I'm not broke, but I ain't no millionaire. You know what I'm saying?